I want to call our February meeting to order, and we're going to open by asking Mr. Michael Williams if he'd open us in prayer.
All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we're grateful and thankful for today, thankful for this meeting, thankful for the leaders that you bestowed upon this community for our local board of education. God, we ask for knowledge, wisdom, and guidance today as they make decisions, even the comments and the participation we have from the public. Let them be good stewards of the financial resources that you provided for us to make great decisions as we continue to deal with COVID and many other things that are impacting the youth in this community. Continue to let us make wise decisions and choices that will continue to improve the education of the members of the Lincoln County school system and the greater community. All these things we ask in your name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Next on our agenda is the consent items, consisting of the agenda, minutes of the January 12th, 2021 meeting, a field trip request, FCCLA Virtual Legislative Expo, February 25th, fundraiser for Principals Fund, and a fundraiser for the Lincoln County Middle School.
Make a motion, we approve it.
I have a motion to accept the consent items.
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Hotman. Motion was made by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Unanimous. Next on our agenda is public participation. And we have 3 that have signed up tonight. Start with Ms. Deborah Partridge and just remind you of the 3-minute time limit.
We're just here concerning the firing of Robert James Leverett, that he put his hands on a child. I've been driving a bus for 33 years. You can't drive a bus without putting your hands on a child at some point. I mean, it's just gonna happen. If they have a pencil you have to take from them that they're stabbing other kids with, various things. If they won't sit down, and they will not sit down, and you have to stop the bus and make them sit down, you got to touch the child. We don't hit them or beat them or we don't hurt them at all. But we love them and we're trying to keep them safe. Because the other thing that could have happened, if Robert James had to slam on brakes with that child running up and down that aisle on the Augusta Highway, let's say the child's arm got broke, he's going to still be in trouble. Because now mama's going to be mad because Robert James didn't make her child sit down. He was doomed either way. I mean, he was between a rock and a hard place. He had no other recourse but to stop that bus and make that child sit down. And I just don't understand. We need some backup here. We got to have somebody supporting us on this. I mean, if it's that simple to lose your job, I might as well be done. I mean, I've been driving too long for that. And I hate it. Robert was a good man. Never one thing he was asked to do, he did it. And I just don't think he deserved it, to be let go like that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know the other 2 you want to speak as well, or just, okay. Ms. Shannon Penrose?
Yes. I've been a school bus driver for going on 8 years. I'm a mother of 4 kids. All my kids have went through this school system. Most of y'all know them. I love all my children. I took this job to be closer with my children. It's not because it pays us anything. But I ended up realizing how important these children are and how much they need us. We are the first people they see. We are the last people that they see at the end of the school day. And they want a hug from me. They need me to put a Band-Aid on them. They're throwing a temper tantrum and I need to pull them and put them up on the front seat, they know what Miss Shannon's gonna do. They know the bus rules. My number one rule is to obey the bus driver. That's what they are supposed to do, number one. Number two, my number one rule when I was hired was I was to get those children from home to school safely and back from school to home safely. And if I did not, I'm the one who's in trouble. These parents are going to come after me. Not only you, but them. And they can also sue me for whatever if the child gets hurt. They can come after me as well. And it's my job, if I feel that it takes me to stop that bus and take that, whatever that child has, whatever that child's doing, and calm that baby down to get control of the bus for the rest of the children's sake, that I get there safely. It is not right if there is one child there disrupting the bus, then the child needs to be taken off and tried on another bus, and if that can't be, then the parents need to deal with it. That's not our job. Our job is to make sure they're safe. I love my job, I love my children, but I will make sure that they're safe. And if that means that I can't touch my children, they're having a seizure or whatever, or they need me to calm and comfort them, then I need to be fired.
Thank you, Ms. Penrose. Ms. Sharon, Brian.
Yes, I've been driving a bus for 34 years. Over the years, we have been told by Mr. Goodwin that handle your problems yourself. Do not turn a child in for everything that they do. These principals don't want to see you bringing a child in the office every day. Handle your problems yourself. That is what most of us do. I don't know if y'all realize, but we got a really good group of bus drivers here that really try to take care of our kids. You know, and I have two little girls that hug me every day when they get off the bus. Am I going to tell them, you can't hug me because our board and our school system says we can't put our hands on you? The day that I have to do that, I quit. Because I respect my kids, they respect me. When I have problems with my kids, I call the parents. Most of the time that takes care of my problems. But y'all have got to start supporting us when we do have these problems and not listening to some of these parents out here, because the kids is going to go home and going to tell them whatever. You need to support the bus drivers, or you're not going to have any. We almost didn't show up the other day when we found out that Robert James got fired. That man went above and beyond his duty as driving a bus. He would be over there in the mornings in the cold cranking our buses for us. He never turned nobody down driving for them. And talk about all the field trips this man has done for the school system. And just to fire him like that? No. I mean, I don't know all the circumstances of what happened, but I just think we need, if y'all going to keep us bus drivers, we got to have y'all support, or it's not going to work. And you can't get nobody to want to drive a bus. All the regulations and things that you have to go through just to get bus license now, and no more than we get paid. Nobody want to drive a bus. So now you fired Robert. Here we are back down to no subs. Maybe I think Floyd Turner is trying to fill in. That's all we got. We can't even take off when we need to go to a doctor's appointment. I have not even missed not one day this year. Very seldom do I even miss a day. All over the whole years I've been driving, these 34 years. I'm dedicated to driving a bus, and I love my children and they love me, and for you to tell me I can't put my hands on them, I can't hug a child, no, I'll quit.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is financials. Mr. Buffer?
First thing we have is our general fund revenues. You can see that our taxes, local ad valorem taxes have gone up a little bit in the percentage since last month. Now we're at 86% of our budgeted amount. I looked back at last year's, and at this time last year, we were at 82% of our budget, so we're actually a little bit ahead of where we were this time last year as far as the budgeted figures go. The rest of our revenues also look good. I think we talked about last month, we're going to do an amended budget to cover some of these, but it looks like we're going to need to increase our budget on our intangible recording tax and real estate transfer tax, as well as the TAVT title ad valorem tax. So apparently a lot of people are buying cars and selling property, so that's a good sign that the economy is improving. We're at 58.33% of the year, and our revenues are at 72.35%. On the expenditure side, we're at 54.96%, so we're a little bit lower than the amount of the fiscal year complete, so that is also a good thing. All the expenditures look in line. I don't see anything that looks out of line there. On the balance sheet, we have cash in the bank, the $3.9 million, and our fund balance right now is at $3.46 million. So everything looks in good shape as far as our budget, that we should meet all of our budget figures. On our SPLOST, you can see that we collected $71,965.01. That is another high month for us compared to last year and even to the last month. At this point, last year we had about 401,000. We've got about 471, so we're right at 70,000 more in our collections for 21 than 20. So the SPLOST is looking good this year. On our summary, you can see that we had, at the end of January, we had 443,000 in the SPLOST account. We had collections on our bond tax as well as our ad valorem tax. You can see there we're at 86.58% of the budget on our bond tax, with a balance in that account of $985,109. So we now have the $1.4 million in the bank. Our April 1st interest and bond principal due is $1.1 million, so we do have enough to go ahead and cover that April payment. So that is looking good on the bonds. Our capital projects, no changes there. We still have the $52,000 available for projects as we need them.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Bufford?
Good job.
Thank you, Ms. Bufford. Next on the agenda is the uniform proposals.
We put the uniform proposals out for bid on January 22nd, actually out for proposal on January 22nd. We have used UniFirst for the past 5 years, and it's only fair to put it out to see if we can either get a better price or a better product. We had three companies total that did submit a proposal. UniFirst, of course, Cintas, and Airmark. As we opened proposals at 2 o'clock on February 5th, each company submitted one. You can see the bids that are there, and you can see the proposals that are there. UniFirst actually submitted an opportunity for a collared shirt as opposed to the shirts that we're currently getting, and folks that I showed that to said that that was a little too thin and they liked what they had. So the 4126.20 is the recommendation based on UniFirst continued bid.
One question, is this just an auto renewal every year as long as you want to keep them?
It can be, but we put it out for bid just to make it fair and to make sure that we're not missing something.
Okay. So the
There's
last 5
a
years it didn't change with them, they didn't go up or?
They did go up over time. There's usually an annual
Okay.
increase, and there was a fuel increase, if I remember correctly, way back in the beginning. And then there was some type of maintenance charge that we went back and forth with them, and depending on what it was, whether we paid it or not. So
Okay.
there is a little bit of that in there. for them to be able to make some money on a contract, but this is a 2-year contract.
Okay,
So this is
that's
2
what,
years.
Yes.
I
2-year
guess that
contract.
answers my question. Okay.
Is this per month, per year, or is that the figure?
This is an annual figure.
Okay, so $4,100 per year. How many uniforms is that, you know? I mean, employees?
I want to say it's 20.
20.
I want to say it's 20. I'm not positive. Ms. Kay, have you got that number in front of you?
I don't know if I have that figure.
It's just the janitorial staff, the kitchen workers, or
It's janitorial staff, it's maintenance,
And bus mechanics.
and bus mechanics. That's right.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we accept the bid for UniFirst at $41,2620.
we have a motion by Mr. Reese.
Second.
Have a second. Mr. Madison, all in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. Next, we have policies for review.
We went through quite a few policies this time. The first one is which is ethics. The second one is board member conflict of interest, which is BHA. And then non-certificated personnel compensation guides and contracts, which is GCA. Those are good as are written, so there's no reason to change those, and we call that in review. Drop down to the next one. This is policy for revision. This policy will be out for the first read. It'll lay on the table for 30 days, and we'll bring it back for board vote. There's a lot of changes in this based on change in the law. The way this was originally written and proposed back in 2011, everything went through the newspaper. And now with the advancement of everybody having a website, a lot of these things have changed. So a lot of the changes here are reflecting that change in law. I also added, that I thought was necessary, the actual definition of meeting according to the law instead of the summary that was on there. So I put the actual law verbiage in there. And then, of course, the type of meeting we can have, whether it's the scheduled meeting, whether it's an emergency meeting, or whether it's a called meeting, and the definition of that. Simply trying to add clarity to the policy. The next one is 2 for deletion. Shared both of these with Harbin and Hartley. They recommended that we don't need either one. The advisory committee is an old policy that is not necessary. And then suspensions and expulsions, that law has changed, and that has moved to the student handbooks that all of the parents sign for. So that is not necessary in policy because it is covered in the handbook and in the law. So that's why that one's recommended for deletion from Harbin and Hartley.
Any questions or discussions on any of these policies? Okay. Superintendent report.
Okay, this time of year, we always ask for a district legislative delegate and alternate. Now, normally, we would be able to ask someone that had been there in June how it was, and then turn around and talk about who else should be the delegate this year. Last year, the Savannah meeting in June obviously got canceled due to COVID, and it was done online. Mr. Madsen participated online. So if you have an interest in participating as a delegate or an alternate, please let us know so that we can make sure that we vote you in March and have the opportunity to allow you to go to Savannah. And right now, as we were talking before the meeting started, right now this meeting is still on in Savannah, the delegate assembly. Now, will that change? Of course it could. We don't know that. But the purpose of this is to try and find out who our district legislative delegate is. If you have an interest, please let either myself or Chairman know. Next item down is CARES Act funding. This is actually CARES Act 2. You remember the CARES Act 1 that came out right before school started in August. CARES Act 1, we got $275,984. We spent that money saving 3.75 teachers, because I think everybody remembers the $660,000 or 10% cut that the state took from us. We used the $275,000 to save 3.75 teachers' jobs at that time. We did not know how all of that was going to roll out. This is the second portion of the federal money. The federal money comes from the feds, goes to the state votes on it. It's supposed to be this coming Thursday. If they approve it, then they're going to give us a final definition of how we can spend it. So for us to try and say this is exactly what we're going to do with this money, I think is difficult and a bit premature, because we don't have the final restrictions and regulations yet. That being said, our plan right now, if we receive all of this money, the first thing we would do is, or our first priority would be to replace the 10% reduction that we received from the state to start the school year. That would be the first thing, to replenish our general fund back to where it should have been. The second priority would be to cover the cost of protecting our students, our students, our schools, our buses, all those things that we spent money on to try and protect us from COVID. And all of that is, of course, very costly. The third thing that we would do with that is we would look at the financial challenges that we have experienced through 2021 because of COVID, cover that, and then whatever is left, turn to try and start covering those challenges in the future, which would be 21 and 22. So that money seems like a lot when you look at it as a blank number, but there's a whole lot of money that has been spent through COVID, through absences of COVID, the chemical to cover COVID, to try and keep us safe. And those are the things that I believe we should use that for.
And we're not, I mean, the 1.1 million is not guaranteed
No, sir.
anyway. I mean,
Not yet.
regardless of the restrictions that may be put on it, that's just what could be.
Right, that's the allotment that was an estimate that was put out January 14th, but they haven't voted on it yet. So the state is still discussing and adjusting.
Okay. COVID-19.
Next one down is just a simple chart that I think says an awful lot. Everybody has heard numbers and rumors. Every time you turn the television on, numbers and rumors are out there about COVID and COVID summary and where we're at, and you hear of different places that are having trouble. The far left-hand side, as you look at the screen, July 20th, you have employees only is in that column, direct exposures and positive. You go all the way down to totals at the bottom, 54 direct exposures, 28 positives as of February 2021. Obviously, we're not at the end, that's at the beginning, as of 2/4. The next bracket over is the elementary school. 95 direct exposures, 11 total positives. I want to point out 2 months that I want you to look at. November. November is when we had the issue with football off campus for the elementary school. There was 10 direct exposures and 3 positives. You look at January. January was 75 direct exposures and 7 positives, coming back from Christmas and New Year's. You eliminate those 2 months and we're in really good shape. Moving over to the middle school. 15 direct exposures in August. Grand total of 48 direct exposures and 6 positives at the middle school, and then 71 and 12 at the high school. The very bottom of this chart on the left-hand side, district all totals, 268 and 57. Now that's including employees, obviously. As you hear the numbers run across the screen on the TV, I think that we have been very, very blessed in Lincoln County. We have worked hard to stay away from it. We've worked hard to clean up and make sure nobody passes it. It happens outside and comes in, and we have been very, very blessed in Lincoln County. But I wanted to share those numbers to try and shed some light on fears and rumors, and I understand the fears and rumors, but these are actual numbers that have been confirmed. Do you want to add anything to this, sir? We call you the COVID czar. You're welcome to add to it if you'd like.
I can add that some of the employees are listed twice, so it could have been exposure in August and another exposure in January. So it's a duplicate total. And some of the kids, like our basketball team, I think was quarantined twice. So those kids from the high school are listed twice as direct contacts. So,
So are the positives listed twice?
no,
Okay,
just
Okay.
direct.
okay. Those numbers look really good. Y'all done a good job, Doc.
Our custodians,
How many teachers twice?
I haven't
No.
had any.
Just direct exposure.
Just,
not
yeah, just
policy.
direct, yeah.
our custodians and everybody
They've done a great
have
job.
done a super job, and I'm very proud of that.
So the way I see this, if I'm reading it right, you had 28 employees positive and you had 29 students positive.
Yes, sir. And that's since July. That's not this week, that's since July.
Right, right, yeah,
Yes, sir.
total, yeah.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
As of right now, you've got 0 positives.
I want to say thank you for this report. This is very eye-opening in putting the numbers out there for everybody to see. So, and again, good job to everyone involved.
Well, our principal sure jumped on the chart and the idea of how to report it and to keep it consistent and the same, and all we've done is follow CDC guidelines through everything. Now, they did change their rules, I'm not questioning that, but when they changed their rules, we changed ours and did exactly what they said, so we followed that guideline and still do. And that's all I have for my report, sir.
Okay. Any other questions for Dr. Light or staff on any of these reports? Okay, need a motion for us to go in executive session. Motion on Heitman, second by Mr. Massey. We'll call our meeting back to order. Mr. Robert Leverett has submitted his resignation from being a bus driver. I need a motion to accept his resignation. Okay, the item dies for lack of a motion. Superintendent recommends, and I make a motion, that we hire the following as substitute teachers for the 2020-2021 school year: Sarah Gilbert, Courtney Hoffman, and Stacy Walski. We have a second by Mr. Masson. All in favor? And need a motion to adjourn. A motion by Mr. Madison, second by Mr. Heitman. Thank you.